So, welcome to today's masterclass, and I'm going to be completely honest with you.
That's
Um,
a good start.
this is the first masterclass that I've ever done personally, all by myself, all alone. So I appreciate you taking your time out of your day to
No, it's good.
to
Yeah,
join me here.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, fantastic. So before we dive in, let's just take a nice deep breath. I don't know about you guys, but my day's been packed.
Okay.
Because that's what it is when we're CEOs, right? And
Yeah.
I just want to recognize that you guys have taken some time, you've carved out some space, not just to learn, but to actually be able to lead. And that's really, really a big deal. So this is a time freedom reset, but honestly, it's so much more than that. It's a reset of how you operate, how you lead, and how your business supports your life instead of consuming it. So, for those of you out there that don't know me, I'm Carol Surbey, the business coach, system strategist, and the founder of the CEO Scalable Academy. But more than that, I've walked the walk. I've built a business, I built a company in construction, I scaled it, I sold it, and now I help other service-based business owners do what most people think is the impossible, which is scaling without sacrificing themselves in the process. Brian, have you been there? Have you
Not yet. Not
sacrificed
yet,
yourself?
but I'm looking forward to it. So that's my interest today.
Okay. And you and I have been talking. So, and it's probably almost time for you and I to talk again.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. So, have you ever found yourself asking yourself that you just need more time,
Go up every day.
right? And have you ever felt like no matter how many systems you try, you're still stuck in reacting, fixing, and following up on everything yourself? Yeah, yeah. So, Brian has admitted that that's him. And for those people watching the recording, if that's you, I want you to know that you're not failing. You're just following an outdated model of leadership. So today I'm here to give you a better one, a model rooted in rhythm, simplicity, and the ability to scale. So, just to give you a heads up, we're going to go underneath the real cause of your time chaos. We're going to help you rebuild your calendar into a strategic system, and we're going to give you back your CEO seat, this time for real. And if that sounds like what you guys have been craving, then let's get into it. So, tell me a little bit, Brian, about what your problem with your time systems are.
Um, oh, I I basically okay, so I sell lumber, so I react to what's most pressing or what the biggest problem is. And very often they take more time than anticipated, so they prevent me from doing other things, i.e., generating business, new
Right,
business. So, yeah, so solving
right.
problems and
So you've been a firefighter,
yes,
and you are actually, your calendar is actually the parking lot for other people's priorities.
hmm, yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah. And does that calendar match your vision?
no.
Okay. So it's not serving you, it's running you.
Um, my money is made by making offers and proposals and discussing options. It's not made solving problems or finishing incompletes. So, so that's where I get hung up.
Okay. We'll spend more time talking about that.
Hmm,
Okay.
okay.
So let me share a quick story. A client of mine, I'm gonna just call her Sarah. She was working 55 hours a week. had a small team, and still felt like everything had to go through her. Her calendar was wall to wall. So, and with just exactly what you were talking about, Brian, the fire drills that pop in on the calendar, right?
Mhm.
And barely 30 minutes of time for strategic thinking every single week. So
Mm.
what we did is we didn't change her business. We actually just changed her rhythm. And within 30 days, she reduced her work week by 10 hours. She stopped micromanaging and finally had a space to lead her team proactively. Now, you don't have a team, do you, Brian? It's just you?
Oh, but that may be in the future.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. So here's the truth. The calendar is either your bottleneck or your breakthrough, right?
Mm.
And even though for you specifically, Brian, you might not be taking some of these firefighting items and putting them on your calendar, they are affecting your time. Okay?
Mhm.
And through the effects of our time, that creates the bottleneck. Okay. So today we're going to address that and see if we can adjust your calendar. So, what is the cost of what we call time chaos? So, time chaos is frustrating, it's expensive, and for some people, it even chips away at their confidence. From the point of view of, they get into that, oh my God, like, why can't I just get these things done? Right?
Mhm.
And when we get enough of that happening, we start to really second guess ourselves. We second guess our clarity, and we really second guess our capacity. Like, is this really what I'm meant to be doing? Right? So, and how that shows up, what the symptoms are, is that you have opportunities that you had never had time to follow up on, right? With inconsistent execution, that erodes your brand, and a team that waits for your decision because no one knows what's truly urgent.
Mhm.
The symptoms are that revenue gets left on the table because there's no space to focus on growth driving activities and no space, and this one might hurt. Not necessarily for you, but for somebody listening on the recording. No space left for you to think, for you to dream, or for you to lead.
Mhm.
And if we don't have time in our calendar for that, what's the point? We all start a business because we have a vision, right? I have this vision that, one of my the purpose for me starting my business is to help people understand that their business is just a tool. It's just a tool for them to be able to achieve the things they want for themselves personally. And from the point of view of it you having a business where you don't even have the space to think, to dream, or to lead, like that to me is so sad. Because those are the very specific reasons why we have a business. Is because we have a dream. We want to think bigger and we want to lead better. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's my personal directive to have everybody treat their business like it's a tool. So when you think of your toolbox and you see a screw in the wall, it's very easy to decide what screwdriver you need to remove the screw, right? I don't know the names of them. There's Phillips and flathead and right. You just, I call it star and square and line. But that's just me. So, here's the job. Here's the very specific tool for the job. There's nothing emotional about that. And for me personally, that's the way I want people to think of their business. Oh, there's the problem. Here's the solution, right? What I see, happening far too often is that we've got leads coming in, but no time to follow up with quality, right?
Mhm.
We're launching new offers, but the brain is so fried, you're second guessing every detail. And you want to
Mm.
train your team, but they keep waiting for you to just have that minute. Brian, when you started with the company you're with, did you have to wait for somebody else to train you? They were
No,
busy? No? Good,
I
good.
was I was experienced.
Okay, excellent. And so when was the last time, and everybody's going to have a different answer. So when was the last time that you had 2 full hours in your work week? So Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, right? Standard 40-hour work week. When was the last time you had 2 full hours in your work week to just think?
That doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen,
No,
right?
no.
Yeah, and I mean just think, and not reply to emails, not fix a client issue, not write a proposal, to just think. Because thinking leads to leading,
Leads to what?
leads to leading,
Mm.
right? And thinking allows you to breathe life into your business. So it's a really important part of being the visionary of your company.
Mm.
If you don't protect your time, your business will eat it up. And here's the really wild part. Most CEOs don't even realize that this is fixable. They think that's just what leadership feels like. So there's a couple of better ways, and we're going to walk through those together. Fair enough? Okay, awesome. So, why time management hacks don't work? I'm going to be really direct here. Time management hacks won't fix this. Planners, productivity apps, they're all fine, but they're band-aids. They focus on managing tasks, not building leadership,
Mm.
right? Okay. These tools feel productive. They feel like they help you get your life organized. They look nice. And if you're anything like me, you spend hours trying to pick the right one, right?
Mm.
And you check a box and you get a little dopamine hit. And here's the brutal truth. You can't organize your way out of chaos. You can only systemize your way into clarity. So, what's needed isn't better management of the chaos, it's to change how the chaos is created in the first place. So, let me
Mhm.
give you an example. One client I work with tried 3 different productivity systems. She had Trello, Notion, and a paper planner. Honestly, I have a paper planner and Trello and a calendar. Okay. And she even had her assistant running Monday.com for her. And she still felt as though she was chasing her tail. She was trying to use tactical tools for a structural problem. Have you ever thought, Brian, have you ever thought of your time issues as being a structural problem in your business?
No, I'm too busy. Mhm.
I love it. I love it. So you're not here to manage tasks. You're here to lead your business, right? And that requires rhythm and it requires decisions to make the right. Um, I wrote altitude, but I meant attitude.
Mhm.
So the solution is that you need a CEO operating rhythm, right? Something that shows you where your time is going, who has access to it, and how it's connected to your actual business goals. So that's what we're going to build here today. So here's a structure that shifts everything. And then my voice sounds a little froggy. We've had fire and smoke, so
Oh,
it's affecting. It's coming in from outside of the area. Like we're not under threat, but it's in the air. So I'm noticing it's affecting my voice today. So when we talk about the CEO time freedom framework, here's the structure that we're going to use, and it's going to help you shift everything. It's built on three different pieces of information. We want to be able to what we call audit the noise. Get radically honest about what's stealing your time, your energy, and power. There's always noise going on, and it's how loud the noise is. It's like kids running around, right? The loudest kids get the most attention, right? We also want to look at potentially redesigning your rhythm. Rebuild your week with intention so it supports the high level thinking and scalable growth. And also reclaiming the driver's seat, stepping into the identity of the CEO, not the firefighter and not the fixer. So I'd like you to think back over the last 7 days. Was your calendar designed around what mattered most, or was it filled with the reactive noise? Brian, you've already answered this. Yours has been filled with firefighting.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay. So, one of the biggest mistakes that CEOs make is trying to grow their businesses while stuck in a rhythm that was never built to scale, right? So, I'll say that again. You can't scale inside a rhythm that was only built for survival. Okay. When you think, now I'm going to ask you to reference a movie, but when you see a movie and there's the big wig, big boss that, comes into the office, right? And everybody, all the peons at their little desks sit and their mouths drop open. They go, ah, right? You've seen those movies. Do you think that big boss is the one that manages his calendar?
Probably.
I disagree.
Ah,
I disagree. Okay. So what you've heard this phrase before, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but what we learn to do at one level of our business is not the same habits that we need to get to the next level of our business. Does that make sense? That makes sense. So these three shifts, audit, redesign, and reclaim, they're about creating a weekly operating rhythm that aligns you as the CEO of a scalable company. So we're going to use your time leverage blueprint to implement all three. And by the end of the day, you're going to walk away with a clear sense of what's draining you, a weekly structure you can actually stick to, and a mindset that puts you back in the driver's seat of your business. So let's start with shift number one. Your calendar is your first scaling system. So let's talk about something you probably haven't heard before, and that is that your calendar is your first scaling system. Not your team, not your tech, not your operations dashboard, but your calendar. Because how you spend your time is how your business spends its energy.
mhm, mhm,
You
mhm.
like that, hey?
Yeah, I do.
How you spend your time is how your business spends its energy. You'll need to take your notes. I'm just responding to Brian's note there. If your calendar is filled with back-to-back meetings, low value admin tasks, and reactive requests, then your business will reflect that level of chaos. I'm just as a side note here, who understands what their hourly value is in their company?
What they're what?
What their hourly value is in the company.
Oh,
So when we talk about low level tasks, right? Low level task, mid level task, high level tasks. If you know, if I was the CEO of $1 million a year company and there's 2,050 hours in it, working hours in a year, right? I'm not going to do the math, but I'm going to suggest that my time is probably worth somewhere around $500 an hour. So why would I be doing a $20 an hour task,
Hmm.
right? If I could hire an admin at $20 an hour, let her do that task or him, whatever. You know, I'm equal opportunity employer here, right? My time is worth $500 an hour. Theirs is worth 20. Let them do the $20 an hour task. Okay. I just have to find my spot. So, if your calendar reveals your calendar actually does reveal your priorities, even if they're not the ones you meant to set. Let me say that again. Your calendar reveals your priorities, even if they're not the ones that you meant to set.
Hmm.
So let me ask a hard question. When you open your calendar, do you feel empowered or do you feel trapped? You're the only one here, Brian, so I'm asking you.
Um, it depends. If I have a lot of problems I need to solve, which is going to take time, I feel trapped and overwhelmed. You know,
Right.
I feel like I don't even want to do this, you know.
Hmm.
But if I don't have those and I'm focused on my proposals and that sort of thing, then it's fine. It just flows.
Okay. So, for those people listening, what I would like you to do right now is I'd actually like you to open your calendar and let's start to create some very strategic blocks within the calendar. So we can do this a couple of different ways. For starters, if you have a colored pencil, if you have post-it notes, whatever. You can do it separately from your calendar. You can just draw a calendar and just for the purpose of the exercise. What we want to start to do is we want to start to create time blocks. So I'm going to use green. Okay, you guys can use whatever color you want, but I like green because green to me represents breath. It represents being able to like slow down and smell the roses. It represents growth, right? So I'm going to block some CEO strategic time for visioning, leadership decisions, and high value moves into my calendar. So let's block those in. And how much do you need? Do you need two 1.5 hour sections a week? One 3 hour section? Maybe we try one and we realize, oh, that's too much at one time. I need to break that in half, right? So again, remember I'm using the color green, and this is for visioning, for leadership decisions, and to be able to navigate the high value moves. And then equally, we want to also leave some time in our calendar for the reactive time, right? And I'm going to use red for this, red for reactive. So that's responding to requests, putting out fires, and urgent tasks that don't actually move the needle in your business. Now, you might find that you have more red space than green space just because of the nature of your business and representing the lack of guidelines that you've put on your calendar, right? So if we're using 3 hours a week for vision time, maybe we need 6 to 8 hours a week for the reactive time. Okay. So let me ask you this. When you, so you might have done this on your current calendar, or you might have drawn this out separately on another calendar. When you overlay the two, what is one red block? Could be a half an hour, could be an hour. What is one red block that you're ready to either cut or delegate today? You can say it out loud, you can write it down, you can put it in the comments. This is the beginning of your time freedom reset.
Well, I can't delegate, so the buck stops here. So,
Okay.
yeah.
But what you can do is you can prioritize what time of the week you actually respond to some of the firefighting, right? And so maybe we have 8 hours a week 8 to 10 hours a week that we've assigned. And maybe for you, and this is just a suggestion, maybe it's right after lunch, right? We have the firefighting scenarios coming in the morning. Right after lunch, we set aside 2 hours to just go deal with those issues. What time of the week would be a good time for the green for you, Brian?
Um, Probably the first 4 hours of the day.
First 4 hours of the day?
Yeah.
I always like the idea of first thing Wednesday morning
Hmm.
because you're deep enough into the week that a lot of the fires, from the Friday before have been put out, or, they're smoldering in the background. The fires for the end of the week haven't quite hit yet, right? And it seems to me that, I know you can't delegate, but when I've been in environments where there's multiple people, it seems to me it's always the quietest time in the office.
Mm.
That's what I found anyways. My personal experience, right? So, you might want to pick 1 or 2 mornings a week and just pay attention to what mornings does your phone ring with fires and what mornings does it not ring, right? You might want to allocate 2 mornings with 2 hours each or one morning with 4 hours, whatever. Whatever works for you. This is the great thing about this is, it's about creating a system that works for you, right? So let's talk about something most CEOs crave, but few can actually create. And that is a rhythm that supports your role as a leader. Freedom doesn't come from open space, it comes from structure. Not rigid corporate rules, but intentional rhythms that repeat, that anchor your energy, and help protect your time. When your week has a rhythm, your business can gain momentum. Now, what I see often is this: many CEOs work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, but they're scattered across 80 different tasks. There's no pattern, there's no pulse, and every day feels like a new firefight. So instead of feeling powerful, you actually feel fragmented. How many times have you heard people say, "Oh, I'm feeling absolutely fried," or "I'm feeling frazzled," right? Same thing, that's fragmented. That's where this weekly CEO rhythm comes in. It's your way of reclaiming intentionally and building a week that creates energy, doesn't drain it. So, what
Hmm.
we need to do next is um, let's walk through your weekly planning checklist. Okay. So let's let's take a minute here and let's review the vision of your business. So, Brian, since you're the one here, I'm going to ask you, what is the vision of your business?
I'm not sure I know what you're asking. Um,
So, why are you in business?
um, but to be independent, to make my own decisions, to have some freedom, um, 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 making it, yeah, make enough money to do have the things I want. Um, but I like the independence as well. So,
Right. Okay. I'm going to say independence. Awesome. So your vision is to be independent, autonomous, and to be able to generate the revenues that you want so that you have all the things that you need in your life.
mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. So when do we take time in our week to review that?
I try to um, plan each day the night before, so I don't have to do a lot of thinking first thing in the morning. You
Mhm.
know, I know what I need to do, and I try to prioritize the most important things. I try to. Um, what usually happens though is other things pop up during the day, and they change the schedule. So, I end up chasing my tail quite a bit.
Right. Okay. Um, so by allowing ourselves to zoom out a bit, it allows us to let us understand where we're going, right? And it allows us to understand what success actually looks like in this quarter, in this year, in the next week, in the next month, whatever, right? Um, so as we articulated your vision here, Brian, with the way you're running your business, are we actually moving towards that vision or are we moving somewhere else?
No, I'm not spending enough time at the doing um, the core exercises, the core functions that I really need.
Right.
So, if you say that, I should probably be doing 75% selling and 25% managing, but very often it's the opposite.
Right.
It's the opposite.
Right.
Um, so I do need to reverse those two.
Okay. And you and I are working on systems to help with that management piece. Okay. I heard you say that you try and plan, your day the evening before.
Mhm.
Do you also do that for your week? On Sunday morning, maybe you spend some time to plan your week.
Um, not in a business sense. Normally, if I have a meeting that I've scheduled, well, that's Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock, or that's da 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 da. So those things are blocked out on an actual calendar.
Hmm.
But my day to day, it changes. It can change in a minute, right? So I really need to address it more than once a week.
Okay.
It's
So so here's the thing. What I'm hearing, and rightly so, this isn't a criticism, it's just an observation, is that you're letting all the noise get in the way. So if I was to ask you, if we came into the same office and I came into your office and I sat down in a chair across your desk and I said, Brian, what are your top three priorities this week? Would you be able to tell me?
Probably, probably. That doesn't mean that I'm getting to them.
Would getting to those top three priorities mean that your week was a win?
You bet.
If you don't get to those top three priorities, what does that do to the business?
Uh, it loses profitability. Um, 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 I get I get affected by um, not having success. So my energy and ambition go down, right?
Hmm.
So there's a personal cost to it, motivation, and you know, and that reflects the energy that I'm able to bring to the table the next day.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
So, Brian, we're at Friday afternoon. Can you tell me what are your top three priorities for next week?
not yet, but towards the end of the day, I will. I know a couple things already, that I have to complete early next week, and I will actually have to prepare for them over the weekend. So I
Okay.
will do that. Yeah.
Are those some things that you could block time into your calendar?
Yes.
We've used red, we've used green, maybe we'll use yellow. This is our strategic time,
Yes, I
right?
can do that.
Our strategic time, and obviously you're going to have three different blocks because we have three different priorities.
Hmm.
And so now we have the red time, which is all the noise and the firefighting. Now we have the green, which is the vision. What is the next thing that I can put in place that's going to move this business forward, right? And then yellow is getting those top three priorities on the calendar. You're still going to have room in your calendar to take the phone calls and to do all the things, right? But right now we have some very strategic time set aside for all of those things.
Um, that would be executing, um, doing the actual work that's required. And
Mhm.
that would be that would include research, strategizing, conceptualizing proposals, um, and then making them.
Mhm.
It's that process.
Yeah. Of those things that you identified, the execution, which one is your biggest bottleneck? So this is step number three, identify your bottlenecks, right?
Um, this doing the research to figure out what proposals I should be making, which are the most important, which are the most profitable, which are the easiest, which are the most critical.
Okay.
Doing doing that research.
As a sidebar, outside of this masterclass, have you tried AI?
No, and that is huge on my to-do list. As I said to you previously, I can't even spell AI.
Okay, so outside of this class, my advice to you is one of your top priorities next week is to spend an hour and a half, set up an account with ChatGPT, and just start ask it. Say, hey, listen, I need to figure out how to make these proposals. Please give me suggestions on how to ask you questions to get to my answer.
I just found out last week that you have to download an app to have Chat GPT.
And you can go to a website. It's called open.ai.com.
Oh,
So it's right. It can be right on your desktop as well.
open.ai.
Yep, .com. That's ChatGPT. There's several different ones. ChatGPT just happens to be the one that I use. Okay. So, but ask it to prompt you on what questions to ask for you to get the results that you're looking for. It's smart like that. Okay. So that's one of your priorities next week because I probably haven't seen you in a month.
About.
Okay. So that's 4 weeks of productivity gone out the door because we're not opening a website and asking a couple of questions. That's not acceptable. Okay, cool. So there we are. We've identified a bottleneck for you.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And you now recognize that you need to set time aside in your calendar to actually spend time on identifying the bottleneck. Not only identifying the bottleneck, but then setting the priority to at least get a feel. You're not going to learn ChatGPT in an hour and a half, but you're going to get a really strong understanding of what it can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
And all that research, let ChatGPT do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
It has access. And if there's someone that you really like to reference for your research, like if you're an electrician, you might want to reference Thomas Edison, right? You can ask ChatGPT, please look through references about Thomas Edison to tell me more about the incandescent light bulb. And it's going to bring up a whole list for you. And it's going to bring up the resources. You can click the link and actually go and read the resource yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In 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 my business, so we have um, customers, right?
Hmm.
And call it there's 1,000 customers or 500 or whatever the number is, and they all have different requirements, different needs,
Hmm.
and I have to cross-reference that with how to best get those needs met,
Hmm.
right? And that and and that um, that requires a lot of painstaking detail work, analyzing it, looking,
Does
check,
it?
you know.
So how about we key in the website address of the client we're looking at,
Mhm.
and we ask ChatGPT, ChatGPT, I'm doing some research on this client. From what you understand out of their website, what are their big fears, frustrations, wants, and aspirations? And how can I write my proposal pushing those pain points?
Hmm, that's interesting.
You can even put in, they've sent you some kind of proposal request. I
Mhm.
would even take that and copy that into ChatGPT as a resource document as well. You can copy it in, you can download it, whatever you want. Just note that anything that you put into ChatGPT now becomes not necessarily a public domain, but it now becomes information that ChatGPT can use to continue generating content for you and for people moving forward.
Hmm,
Okay. So they don't necessarily take the specifics information, but they gather it all together and they go, okay, what's the broad spectrum here? Okay.
hmm. Okay.
Does that excite you?
Yeah. My actually it was my niece who showed me the potential of Chat GPT,
Hmm.
and I was blown away.
Hmm.
There's early adopters, middle adopters, non-adopters.
Yep.
I'm not sure where I find, but it's certainly not early.
Well, you're not late either.
Well,
Okay.
I'm just in time.
You're just in time. So this is a really excellent example, and for those of you that are listening, this is a really excellent example of identifying your bottlenecks, right?
Mm,
Because honestly, this is part of your job as a CEO is to find those bottlenecks and find a fix for it. So, are we proficient at ChatGPT? I'm not. I mean, I get what I need, right? And you'll get there too, right? So, and I'm not saying that ChatGPT solves everybody's problems, but it's a really great shortcut for research, right? Instead of us
mm,
having to go find the things, it actually delivers it.
mm,
Okay.
mhm.
So, and so again, that's our job, right? Is as a CEO is to find our bottleneck and to fix it, right? So we want to be asking ourselves, what's the thing that's slowing us down right now, right? What system isn't working or is slow and clunky, which I think describes, when we're talking research for your proposal specifically, what you're doing is slow and clunky and probably frustrating because you'd much rather be out in the garden or going out for a walk, right? What's a decision that's stalled? Again, you're not that your proposals are decisions, but your proposals are stalled because you just don't want to do the damn research. Because, some people are made for that. I'm not, right? Or, you can ask yourself, is it a delivery issue? Is it a team gap? Or is it just a reoccurring fire, right? So here's the thing. Once we identify the bottleneck, we don't need to solve it yet. We've spent some time with Brian here today, helping him solve, right? And that's what our hot seats are for. So, Brian, on the third Wednesday of every month, we have a hot seat. So,
On the what?
on the third Wednesday of every month,
Okay.
I have a hot seat. So, feel free to come to the hot seat. And if you know anybody else that could use a hot seat, bring them along, right? So, the point of identifying the bottlenecks isn't necessarily saying that we have to fix it today. But what we do need to do is we need to name it, right? We need to make it visible. And, you know, CEOs solve problems by targeting the right problems, not trying to fix everything all at once, right? I think you and I can both agree that, when we're looking at holes and gaps in our processes and our systems, like we might have a $10,000 gap and we might have a $20 gap, right? We want to identify the priorities, the $10,000 gaps first, right? The $20 gaps, they're going to happen. Are they going to kill our cash flow? If we let them happen too long, they will. But short term, they're going to be fine, right? So really identifying it and not trying to fix everything at once. And so here's where the rubber meets the road, and we've talked about this already. So let's pick two more blocks between 60 and 90-minute each, which is our yellow blocks, right? Our CEO, our power hours, where we actually, Brian's going to sit down and spend time to get to know ChatGPT, right? During that time frame, he's going to close his door, he's going to turn off his phone, send everything to voicemail, and he's going to shut down his email so he doesn't get distracted, right? So let's put two of those blocks in your calendar. And again, I suggest yellow, but you pick whatever you want, right? And this is your strategic planning. This is your reviewing your financials, right? Which
Mhm.
should probably happen the end of the second full week of your month. Fixing your bottlenecks, creating your systems, leading, not reacting. And this doesn't need to be fancy, and we don't need to be overzealous with it. But we do need to understand the value of it enough that we actually start to protect it. We make it sacred. So your business grows when you work on it, not just in it. When we're firefighting, when we're paying attention to the noise, that's just us being an overpriced employee.
Mhm.
So this time that you're scheduling actually becomes non-negotiables. So no reschedules, no quick client calls, no quick tasks. Phone gets put away, email turns off, door gets closed. So this is how CEOs lead with intention, week after week. And for those of you that have teams, we need to set the rule. If my door is closed, you do not bother me. You do not bother me. And if an employee seems to think that they can bother you because they have a situation out front, okay, game on. Your next strategic session, you're going to address how to fix that bottleneck, those situations. And then you're going to train your team so that they never have to knock on your door for that situation ever again. That's working on your business rather than in your business. So we've got 4 steps. You go ahead. You go ahead.
Sure.
I'm gonna keep going. Um,
Okay,
we got 4 steps. You better go fast
I
because
am.
we're just wrapping up this section. Got 4 steps, 5 minutes, and we create one powerful rhythm. We review the vision, we set our top 3 priorities, we find the bottleneck, and we protect your power hour. And that's the real magic when you start to do this every single week. Now I'd like to shift. The next phase is learning to delegate your time without losing control. So let's talk about one of the biggest mindset blocks I see in CEOs who are actually ready to grow. And that is delegating your time without losing the control. Because really, let's be honest, handing off your calendar, it can feel terrifying. It's like, what if I miss something important? What if they schedule me into chaos? And what if letting go creates more problems than it solves? And honestly, these are real concerns. But here's the good news, they're not permanent problems. Because what we're really talking about isn't just calendar management, it's actually access control. So let me reframe this for you. Think of your calendar as your home. Delegating it doesn't mean leaving the front door wide open for anybody to just walk in. It means that you install a smart lock, you decide who gets a key, and you set boundaries around which rooms they're even allowed to enter. Because boundaries don't block your business, they actually protect it. And one of the fastest ways to burn out is to let your time be booked by default instead of design. And Brian, that's what's happening to you,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I want you to answer these next 3 questions right now. Not later, not after you clean your inbox, but right now. Who is actually allowed to book your time? Is it just you? Is it an assistant or a team member? Or is your calendar wide open and it's a free-for-all?
There are necessary things that I have to do on a daily basis, and they are time controlled. But there's things that happen throughout the day. Emergencies pop up, and I need this answer now, da 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 da, and it gets in the way.
Hmm.
So I'm constantly multitasking, and my attention is taken off of what I really need to be doing.
Let
Yeah,
me ask you this. Brian, you're good at what you do.
I
We're
think so.
going to take a little sidebar here. Why are you getting phone calls saying, I need this answered now? How come they don't already have that information?
Um, in my business, things are fluid. They change. Um, you can lay it out as complete and as accurate as you can, but it doesn't mean that it's it's going to go through and flow and the order is going to ship and one thing and another. Someone's not there, we're missing this product. The freight company is late. I mean, there I've seen it. I think I've seen it all, but you know what? Every week something new comes up that I've never seen before. I mean, that
Is
ha
you answering a call about a freight company being late? Is that a now problem?
a what problem?
Is that a now problem?
Um, Sometimes I'm the only person who can answer the question.
Sure. But is it a now problem?
A now problem, which do I have to answer now or can it wait?
Yeah.
It could be both. Could be both.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Are they not, do we not provide the shipping information so that they could call themselves?
Yes, but that doesn't mean it happens because someone's not there.
So it's not necessarily a now problem.
Not it could be. Um, it could be if no one else is doing it, or it may not be a problem if someone's there catching the ball. And it happens equally with both.
Hmm.
So
Do they have time slots in their delivery?
yes, absolutely.
So it's like Costco.
Ye- yes, exactly like Costco.
I can understand that now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, let's get back to the conversation at hand. So if your answer to that question was anybody with a link to your calendar, you're free for all. We found your first problem, right?
Okay.
So the next question is what kind of meetings do you want to allow? And Brian, I'm not sure that this actually applies to you because this is more about empowering your team to be able to book things on your behalf, okay? Now, maybe you have some very specific clients that you would trust and allow with this information, but maybe not. I don't know. So the question again is what kind of meetings do you want to allow? So we want to think about categories, right? Strategy sessions, sales calls, client deliveries, right? Team check-ins. And I want you to think about what type of meeting drains you the fastest. And do those need boundaries or do those need batching, right? Maybe we spend just Wednesday afternoon doing client delivery calls because they're exhausting and that's all we have the energy for. And another question is, what is your maximum number of calls or meetings per day? Like, set a limit. Is it two? Is it three? What does your buffer time between meetings need to look like? Do you like them back to back? Do you like them spread out? And it doesn't matter what your answer is. Me personally, I like mine back to back to back to back to back. And then I'm done. I go take an hour, input my notes, whatever notes I've missed, and then I'm done. So whatever your answer is, own it because protecting your energy is actually the highest form of leadership. Okay?
Hmm, hmm. Um, I
Wow.
could have, 30 or 40 emails a day that I need to respond to. I could have 20 or 25 phone calls that I either need to initiate or respond to,
Mhm.
whatever. Um, there could be 0 to a dozen problems I need to either address and answer.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah,
And how can we batch that? So instead of going from phone call to email to text message, back to phone call, back to text message, right? How can we sit down and go, okay, I'm going to take the next hour and I'm going to go through my email, right? Maybe an hour later you go, okay, I'm going to address these texts. And an hour later, I'm going to pick up my voicemail, right? Not necessarily in that order, but like, it's more exhausting to go from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, than it is to sit down and rhythmically go through what you have in front of you. Make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I go back and forth, pillar to post, and I do find that exhausting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I could bring some organization to it. Not completely, because that's just the nature of my business. It's instantaneous kind of thing. But that would certainly free up energy. Doing that, it'd free up energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. So, so here's the final step. I want you to name one boundary that you're going to claim this week. What I hear you say, Brian, is that you're going to batch your emails, batch your texts, batch your voicemails to the best of your ability. Is it going to be 100%? Maybe, maybe not.
Mhm,
But are we going to go from 0 to 70% to protect your energy? Let's do that. And let's claim it, right? And I just heard you say it out loud, right? Do do we have to let people know? Do you
no,
need to
no, we
text your
don't.
assistant? Do you need to text your wife? Right? And again, come back to your calendar or your planner and put it in there. Batch time for communications. Label it however you want, right?
Mhm, mhm. I need a
So,
better calendar.
yeah, yeah.
I do.
So for the people listening, you can instruct your team. I don't take calls before 11 a.m. on Monday, right? I don't want to take more than 2 meetings a day.
Mhm,
Fridays are off limits unless it's revenue generating. Or I need 30 minutes buffer time between appointments on my calendar,
mhm,
right? Not only does that create clarity and boundaries for yourself, but if your team is participating, it creates clarity and boundary for them, right?
mhm.
Okay. How's that feeling?
Good. Uh,
Okay.
so
Excellent.
at the end, can we have some non-videoed time together, a few minutes?
I can give you a few minutes.
Okay.
Sure. Sure. I can do that. Um, okay. So just gonna do one thing over here. Just gotta move some stuff around. Okay. So the last step, I forget what step we're on. I think we're on step 4, is a really powerful shift, and it's about simplifying. So I know simplifying doesn't sound very flashy, and it's not the loudest strategy, but really it's one of the most important. Because here's the truth that I want you all to sit with. Complexity of systems is the silent killer of growth.
Hmm,
The more offers you juggle, the more custom services you manage, the more scattered your operations become, and the harder it is to move anything forward. So, and here's the kicker, most CEOs don't even see it happen. And why? Because complexity wears a clever disguise. It hides behind, well, we're just trying to serve everyone. We want to stay flexible and we're trying to keep our options open.
hmm,
But here's the reality. Every time you give a yes without structure, it's stealing your capacity from your future. Okay.
hmm.
hmm I think
Good.
some of these things are landing with you, Brian.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So right now, we're going to bring this home for you. All I want you to do, I got three more questions for you. Okay. Ready?
Mhm.
Just answer the three questions. What is one strategic goal that you want to focus on between now and the end of the month? Not five, not all of them, just one. What's the needle mover? If complete, would create meaningful momentum in your business.
Um, be more efficient on my, call it my yellow tasks. Focus on them,
Okay.
period.
And how do you do that?
Um, preparation, structure,
Okay.
block out the time, get rid of distractions.
So, what is the one metric that matters most to that goal?
Sales.
Okay. Clients retained,
Hmm.
sales,
Hmm.
potentially as revenue collection,
Hmm.
potentially as lead generation,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Is that helping you anchor your attention?
It's helping me reconsider how I structure my day according to what priorities, which I don't now. I'm far too reactive and getting buried in other people's priorities. So it's like giving up power and chasing my tail and that type of thing. So,
Right. Okay. So let's bring this all together. Um, if you haven't already, pull up your calendar and we're going back to look at the week ahead and assign every single block one of these three tags. Green, your CEO's strategic time. Yellow, how would you define your yellow, Brian?
um, revenue generating proposals.
Okay. Okay. So it's creating systems that work, right?
Hmm.
And then red, your reactive time, right? Start with Monday, go block by block. Don't forget for you, Brian, you also want to make sure that you put in there, and I don't know whether this is green or yellow for you, your email response, your text response, your voicemail response times as well, right? And we're going to go minimum half an hour, preferably an hour. Okay.
Oh, my sales are all highly interactive with customers and um, in my production system,
Okay.
and that requires a lot of back and forth. So that's all involved in yellow. But I think what I'm focusing on is more just the proposal.
Okay.
Get the proposal out there in someone's head so they can think about it and react to it. And they often can't react immediately.
Right.
So
And
there's follow up.
here's the thing, you can have two different kinds of yellows too, right? You can have like a dark gold yellow,
Yeah.
which are client meetings, sales, client facing stuff specifically, and then a light, butter yellow for all the stuff that supports.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. Or
Uh,
you can, you can make them whatever color you want. Okay. But the idea is that we're categorizing our tasks. And then we're taking those categories and based on our experience in our own business, we're applying those categories to the calendar. What is the best time of the week for this?
mhm.
Okay.
mhm,
Okay. So,
mhm,
and just go block by block. Like I would like you, if you don't want to, write on your calendar right now, go photocopy it, right? Take a scan of it in your printer, take a picture of it and print it, right? And get the practice in.
mhm.
Like literally color code for each priority type of task. And just take your time. And what you put this week might not work overall. So next week, like we can take 3 or 4 weeks to figure out what the best time is, to understand what energy we have at certain times of the week that might be better for a different type of task. Like let's take 2 or 3 weeks to figure out what we want these red, yellows, and greens to look like, okay? And now that you've looked through your week, ask yourself, what is one green block that's going to make me super proud?
Hmm.
Right. And then on the other side, what is one red block that I can delegate, eliminate, or is there something in that that actually needs to be systemized? So, with that, you've just created space. You've claimed clarity and you just chose a better rhythm.
Hmm.
So, this is your time freedom reset. It's not a dream, it's not someday, it's happening right now. And here's what I want you to remember: scaling isn't about adding more, it's about focusing better. The shift, simplified to scale, isn't just operational, it's emotional, it's strategic, and it's what frees you to actually lead. Now, we walked through our 4 core shifts. You audited your time, you started building your weekly rhythm, you created delegation boundaries, and we've simplified your focus. So let's seal this with one final identity shift, one that brings all of this to life and how you lead. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. So let's zoom out for a second. You came to this masterclass thinking about time, but what we've actually really been talking about is identity. Because this isn't just about getting a better handle on your calendar, it's about stepping fully into the role your business needs you to play. You're not the assistant, you're not the tech, you're not the over-functioning superhero who solves every single problem. You're the CEO. And CEO doesn't just mean in charge, it means protecting your energy like it's a strategic asset, because it is, installing rhythms that let your team and your business breathe, and you focus on decisions, not distractions.
Hmm. Mhm, mhm.
So here's what I want you to remember: your time is your leadership in motion. The way you use it either teaches your business to respect your role or reinforce that it still needs you in the weeds. So the truth is that leadership is spacious and it's uncomfortable sometimes. And what I see leaders do when they are uncomfortable is they turn around and they go back to what's comfortable. All those color codings on your calendar disappear
Or they procrastinate.
or they procrastinate. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Leadership means you're choosing a long game over the quick fix. And that's who you're becoming. And that's what this reset is really about. So ask yourself this: what version of you walked into this training and what version of you is walking out? If you've been waiting for permission to lead differently, this is it. You
Yeah.
don't need to earn rest. You don't need to prove worth through busyness. You're already enough. And now you've got rhythm to back that up.
Hmm.
So let me just invite you. Today's experience was a reset, but what you build next is a system. And that's what we're doing inside the Scalable CEO Academy. You've seen what happens here today when you create time leverage. Now imagine combining that with strategic systems, team delegation, financial clarity, visibility rhythms, and personalized support. That's what the Scalable CEO Academy has been built for. So let me walk you through what makes this different. Inside the academy, you're going to get your custom operating systems with guided support. Create systems that create financial visibility, so you'll be able to lead with confidence, not guessworks. You're going to develop weekly CEO rhythms that protect your calendar and your growth. We're implementing lead generation, marketing, and authority building systems that don't require you to be everywhere once. We give you structure that's not just strategic, but sustainable. And we help you stop being the bottleneck. It drives me crazy. How many CEOs I have to call out? Stop being the bottleneck, because they are. They're the biggest ones. So we help
Hmm.
you stop being the bottleneck so that you can finally build a business that scales without sacrificing your sanity. This is your moment to make this shift permanent, to take everything we've talked about today and implement it with structures, guidance, and support. So I invite you to check out the Scalable CEO Academy at thescalableCEOacademy.com. Just so you know, coming in July 18th, I believe it is, we have a mini summit coming up, Lead with Authority, Visibility Strategies for Time-Strapped CEOs. So join us there. We're going to have 4 or 5 guests, all speaking specifically to CEO strategy. I'll look forward to seeing you over there. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.
Okay.